Alright, so let's take a look at where the Eagles stack up midway through the season. Plus a massive boost to the pass defense, and Desai finally making adjustments. Brian Dawkins loves what he's seeing from the unit, and great news on Jalen Hurts' knee injury. So let's break it down. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Okay, so the bye week has made for a very unusual week, with Jason Kelce showing up just about everywhere, including the Wiener's Circle hot dog joint in Chicago, as well as guest commentating on Amazon as he weighed in one more time on the sexiest man in the world acknowledgement.
My wife tells me all the time I'm the sexiest man in the world, so I've been wondering what's been taking so long for this nomination to happen. It's been a whirlwind. It's been fun. It's a win for plus-size bearded men all over.
Yes, baby.
You could just tell Kelce's having way too much fun this season, especially since he also released the second annual Philly Special Christmas album, which is freaking amazing, featuring himself, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, and the rest of the gang. Come on, sexy Batman can't hang it up after this season, can he? Well, I don't know. I guess there's hope, since the 36-year-old said it's too hard to plan that far ahead on retiring after the end of the season, saying, "We'll see where we're at the end of the season. The league is changing so much, but I can say I'm having a whole lot of fun right now."
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Sure, there's always a chance, but despite how much we might want to continue seeing 62 wear the Kelly green or midnight green, I kind of think the writing's on the wall, because anyone who's watched the Kelce doc on Amazon knows about the injuries and side effects of past injuries the future Hall of Famers had to deal with. Plus, if you've seen the center in the broadcast booth at all, or heck, even just the New Heights podcast, you know he's got a great future ahead of him. I don't know, for me, this is surely his last season, but what say you? Speaking of a great future ahead of him, we've slowly gotten to see more Nolan Smith snaps, which is why I think we're going to see a much more active Nolan in the second half of the season. However, if you want to see him on Saturday, he's taking full advantage of the bye week.
I'm not a celebrity, but I will be your guest picker at 11:30 on Saturday, and you know who I'm rooting for. Come watch me talk trash on the stage, and I will be back in Athens for the first time in a long time. So go Dogs, and the Philly Dogs coming at you. Wide left, you see it.
Alright, well, I can guarantee you one pick he's going to make on game day, and did I try to DM him to get him on the show over the bye week? I don't know, maybe? Sorry, although my lack of answering is similar to what we'd been getting from Jalen Hurts about his knee until after the Dallas game.
Kind of been planning Byard this whole entire time, and it comes to a point where it is truly a whatever it takes mentality. But that's a great team win, and selfishly, I don't think the bye week could have come at a better time.
Okay, again, like I've shared on past shows, that's all Jalen needed to say for us to know he's definitely feeling the bone bruise. The good news, though, is that ESPN's Tim McManus has been in contact with team personnel, reporting that there aren't any alarm bells going off over QB1's knee. And although the direct shot on his knee against the Cowboys clearly affected him after the blow, there was no worsening of the injury. The hope is that the bye week will get him closer to 100% and we'll begin to see more mobility from Hurts. Obviously, that's nothing definitive, but I love to hear it, especially because remember, BG alluded to the fact that Jalen's been playing through more pain than some people realize, which honestly makes it that much crazier that he's playing at an MVP level right now. In fact, Jalen's the odds-on favorite to win the award at the midpoint of the season. And sure, you could point to the high turnover rate for Hurts, yet when you compare next to Mahomes, they're practically at the same level, if not Jalen outplaying him. I mean, this dude was dead last in completion percentage just 3 years ago and now ranks as the 6th most accurate quarterback. But it's because, like Paul Domowitz shared, he goes on a mission when he feels there's something he needs to improve at or when he's slighted by people who say he's not very good at something.
Chip, I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey.
Chip, you brought this on, man.
Okay, well that's what makes Jalen one of the best. And the reason why the Birds offense has been insanely efficient, like the best in the NFL on opening drives and nearly the best in points, yards, first downs, and whatever else you can think of. Heck, look how far ahead the Eagles are in terms of offensive efficiency in the rest of the league. Oh yeah, and remember the whole red zone efficiency dilemma? Well, we're ranked 13th now, so not so bad. However, if you're still saying, yeah, but that's not meeting the eye test, you're not necessarily wrong, because like Dan Orlovsky shared, league-wide scoring is down and the lowest it's been since 2007, thanks in large part to simulated pressure being shown, with the Kansas City Chiefs doing it more than just about every other team. So naturally, the question that brings up is, how can we combat that? Personally, I'd like to get the running game going, which I know I've talked about quite a bit recently, but I agree with several of you who've brought up the idea of Jalen's inability to run making the team a little more one-dimensional. So hopefully as Jalen recovers, we'll see more of a threat from him to run. Plus, you guys already know this, but getting beef jerky back is definitely going to help. And so will getting back Quez Watkins from the hamstring injury.
Okay, so that's how it's gonna be. Y'all wanna play?
Sorry. And no, I don't think Quez is the answer to much. However, with Goedert out, do you think we might see Sirianni focus on getting the speedster more involved in the offense? I mean, you can't deny that Sirianni loves Quez, and he saw an unquestionable uptick in production when Goedert went out last season, so it wouldn't totally shock me. Either way, I'm not as concerned about that spot as I am the slot corner. Yet, thankfully, the biggest return of all should happen in a couple days, with corner Bradley Roby set to return from the shoulder injury he suffered, as the 31-year-old has allowed the lowest passer rating among Eagles cornerbacks this season, granted an incredibly small sample size, but maybe that's the change we need, because Desai's got to do something, or at least something different than putting a linebacker on a team's wide receiver like we've seen multiple times. And I get that Kevin Byard is supposed to be an upgrade, but personally, I feel like he'd be better against tight ends or in the traditional safety role. Of course, I love Sidney Brown, but the early returns suggest he needs a bit more time to develop in the slot. Now, is that an overreaction? Sure, maybe. And I like the fact that Desai's allowed players to speak up, like, for example, how Darius Slay shared of multiple games where he's gone and voluntold the DC to switch up the alignments, which I don't hate that he's a player's coach, and thank God we're not still dealing with Jonathan Gannon, who, by the way, freshly traded quarterback Josh Dobbs literally said JG lied to him multiple times while he was in Arizona. But getting back to Desai, I think he's got to start putting the players in better positions to make plays. Although if you're like Inside the Birds Adam Kaplan, it's more of a player issue. As he said, I'm looking forward to what Sean Desai can do when he gets Bradley Roby back. Those guys are not running well on the back end, and that's not the defensive coordinator's fault. You have what you have.
Why can't I be quarterback, huh?
You're right. Let's see what you got. Hit me. I'm open. That's why. Now sit down and shut up.
Look, you guys know I'm a fan of the DC, but I can't put this all on the players. And I agree more so with EJ Smith's assessment on the matter, saying this year's Eagles defense, more stylistically than schematically, reminds me of the Jim Schwartz era a bit. When the pass rush is getting home, it can be easy to forget the disparity in investment and personnel on the back end. And when opposing quarterbacks get time, things get ugly. The Eagles have given up nearly 800 yards of passing offense alone in the last 2 games, which on its face is certainly cause for concern, especially due to the pre-snap predictability. I mean, personally, I don't think this is deserving of a blame one party approach, but where do you guys fall? Is it on Desai, the personnel, or a mixture of both? However, wherever you fall, all of our hope is that the Philly D can figure it out. Because remember, before they went on break, Sirianni said they'll be self-scouting and specifically mentioned the secondary in his presser. Plus, despite the head coach saying every game's the same, you know he wants to deliver Big Red his first loss to Philly, which is why I believe our secondary will show significant adjustments to get the guys in better spots. And you better believe Sirianni will be scouting the out of Desai's defense. And Eagles legend Brian Dawkins is a believer too. After going on WIP Thursday, despite saying he's frustrated at times, he believes the squad is in a good spot.
The other thing I love about where they are, and I'm a little twisted in this way, because I've been in the NFL long enough and I've been through so many seasons that I recognize the significance of what I'm about to say. They are a ugly 8-1. They are a quote unquote ugly 8-1. It's not a pretty 8-1. It's not a glossy and shiny 8-1, right? They're not just blowing people out of the door. They're not winning by 30 points, 25 points. They're not doing that, right? They're finding ways because of mistakes they have made. So when you win that way, the way that I see it, the way that I understand it, now they can continue to have tough conversations in the locker room. Youngster, when we get into the playoffs, that's going to be the one that's going to get us kicked out. But that's why I love that they are a quote-unquote ugly 8-1.
Well, you know what they say.
Hungry dogs run faster.
I mean, I don't really mind the spot we're in. Okay, yeah, that's easy to say being 8-1. But it's not all negative in the secondary, with Reed, the Ghost Blankenship, having the 3rd highest coverage grade out of all safeties this season, and leading all safeties in pass breakups with 6. And look, despite being optimistic that the defense can turn things around, let me just be clear and say I'm not expecting a top 10 finish in pass coverage, but I don't think you need that to be able to win. And thankfully, like I already touched on, the pass rush has been really good. So do we actually need to add more depth with a guy like a Jason Pierre Paul? No, we don't need to, and I talked about this more in a previous video, but I like the idea for a stretch run. Plus, JPP's definitely got the right mindset, with Josina Anderson recently speaking to the 34-year-old former All-Pro who said he's been training like crazy and looking at a lot of football lately, and feels like he can still make a contender shift now, saying there are plenty of teams that still need a pass rush, so I'm just waiting for that call. If you go back and watch the film with the Ravens, you can see I played very physical. Even in that first game, I did tremendously good. Film don't lie, whatever team I end up going on is going to get the best of me. I'll be all out. I don't need a whole season. There are teams I want to be on. I'm looking for my 3rd push to get another Super Bowl ring. People love winners. Heck yeah, you know we love winners, and you know he wants to be on the Eagles. I mean, who wouldn't pick that if they got the choice? Speaking of picks, it's time for the Week 10 picks after going 2-1 last week. And by the way, if you haven't tried out BetMGM yet, you're guaranteed to win your first bet up to $1,500 when you sign up via my link in the description. All right, this week I'm going to go with Seattle at home -6.5 versus the Commanders. Next, I'll take Arizona. I don't know why, I'm crazy sometimes, but give me the 1.5 against the Falcons. And lastly, I'll roll with the under 38 in the Baltimore-Cleveland game. Okay, go ahead and hate on it if you want. Reminder, if you want a chance at 2 Eagles regular season tickets, become a member for as low as $3 before the end of November, where you'll automatically be entered into a drawing. FYI, check out the comments section or description in the vid on how to join the channel. All right, everybody have a great weekend and happy Veterans Day to all the vets out there. You guys are literally the heroes. Also, I probably won't have any shows over the next couple days, but we'll jump on a live if we've got any breaking news, so be sure to turn on the notifications if you haven't already. This has been the Philly Special.